All right, we are almost done with the reading section of the TOEFL IBT exam, at least in this TOEFL Excellence course. Now we're talking about the second task type, which is the summary organization task. Now, first of all, you probably noticed if you have gone through the official video summary that they refer to it as prose summary questions. Well, once again, there's no way I can use that term because it just doesn't make any sense. First of all, prose has nothing to do with it. Now, maybe you might say that the summary is a form of prose, but really, this is just confusing and redundant. Very similar to when they referred to it as the rhetorical purpose questions. This word is redundant, it doesn't need to be there, and it's not a question, it's a task. So that's why we at TOEFL Excellence refer to this as the summary organization task. But it's the same thing. And the official video would not be part of this course if I didn't think it had good information. So you should still watch that video. Just realize that what they're talking about is what we refer to as the summary organization task, because that's what it is. As far as the skills and abilities, skimming and scanning, pretty much the same as every question and task type in the reading section. Intermediate level of English skills and vocabulary, also the same as with every other question and task in the reading section. You'll also have to have a good comprehension of what the main idea and the supporting details are. And this is very similar to with the factual information and detail questions. The only difference is that with this task type, you are not shown just a small portion of the reading section. This is a summary of the entire reading passage. So you have to be able to comprehend what is the main idea of the passage and what are the supporting details about that main idea. You'll also have to be able to distinguish what is a false detail. This is very similar to just information which is factually not true. You'll have to be able to distinguish between specific details and general statements. That's because there will be answer choices which are specific details from the reading passage, and they are factually true, but they don't necessarily constitute a summary statement. We need statements that summarize the task. We're not just repeating factual information. We're providing a summary. All right, so you'll have to know about identifying keywords. That's mostly because you will probably have to scan through the reading passage, or at least skim through it to get a good idea, especially if you haven't read the entire reading passage previously. Now, there are situations where some people say that you shouldn't read the reading passage before doing the questions in the reading section. Other people say it's a good idea to skim. Whether you skim the passage before or you did not, with this particular task type, you will almost definitely have to. That's because you'll either have to check with the information with the answer choices or, just to get a general idea if you don't know the entire set of information from the whole reading passage. All right, so one of the things which is really unique about this is that even though you are providing a summary of the entire reading passage, you don't need to put them in the correct order. So you don't need to put them in the order of when the things happened within the reading passage. You just need to choose the statements which represent a summary statement. Now, you'll have at least one of these summary organization tasks in the entire reading section. You might not get one with every single reading passage, but you will definitely have at least one of these task types within the reading section. So let's go to some examples. So the first one here, as you notice, we have the entire reading passage. Now, you don't necessarily have to skim the entire reading passage and then go to the summary statements. In fact, that might not even be a very good idea because what it is that you have 6 answer choices. Only 3 of them will be used. And then they provide a statement here, which is sort of the first summary statement. So for this one, it says, the Battle of Agua Dulce was a significant battle in the Goliad campaign. Okay? So that's a summary statement that they start you with. Then you need to go through the different answer choices down below and determine which ones are more summary statements. Now, one of the things that you can use is that if you have a statement which is a very, very detailed statement, you could probably eliminate those. It's always good to check. But one of the things that we do first, obviously, eliminate any that are factually untrue or that are clearly not a summary statement. Like this one, the colonists did not like the Federalists. Well, without even reading the passage, you can tell that this is not a summary statement. It's maybe true without reading the passage. We don't know first, but it's probably not going to be a summary statement. In 1853, the residents of Texas, known as the Texians, drove out Mexicans and planned to invade Mexico. That's a pretty good summary statement. It's not very detailed, and it does give a large idea of what the whole thing is about. Grant and 11 of his men were killed, and 6 Texians were taken prisoner. Well, this is a good example of something which is fairly detailed, and also since we're talking about something which happened, but we don't necessarily know when it happened, then this is probably a detailed question, and you'll probably be able to eliminate that one. Grant's company was ambushed, and they were easily defeated by the Mexican troops. Once again, this is also a detail, but it might be a very important detail, which actually acts as a summary. So there are situations where you have answers which, although they represent details, they might actually be a summary statement. Although some of Grant's soldiers managed to escape or were taken prisoner, nearly everyone else was killed. Once again, possible detail, possible summary. Grant, Benavides, and Brown, though trying to escape, were caught or killed after being chased for almost 10 miles. Now, this one sounds very similar to these two right here, but it's a little bit more detailed than the other two because they're talking about after being chased for. So this is one specific incident. So this is why now we can probably eliminate this one and you can eliminate this one. So we have 4 statements and we only have 3 choices. Okay. Well, we could probably choose that one. That one definitely seems like a summary. So we put that up there. Then we only have 3 more statements left to deal with, but we can only choose 2 of them. And this is why you need to use keywords to find if that information is important enough to be used as a summary statement or if it's more of just a detail. So that's why you will use the skimming and scanning, because you need to determine which of the answer choices that you have left after you have eliminated ones that are probably not the right answer and the ones that you definitely will use. Whichever ones that you have left, you use the keywords from those statements and scan for that part of the passage. That way you don't have to read the entire thing. You can still fulfill this task without reading the entire reading passage. Let's take a look at another example. Okay, so they have the introductory statement. Angkor Wat is a very old, large, important religious structure that is also a very popular tourist destination. Okay, good. Angkor Wat was built in the 12th century by Khmer King Suryavarman II. That's a detail. It's true, but it might be important. Though Angkor Wat was originally built as a Vishnu temple in the 12th century, it remains an active Buddhist temple today. Now, this one does contain detailed information, but if you notice here, it talks about when it was originally built and also about today. So this is a really good idea for a summary statement. The temple's dedication to the Hindu god Vishnu was a break from the tradition of dedicating temples to Shiva. Now, that's once again a detail, but it could act as a summary depending on the other answer choices that we have. Although being largely overtaken by the jungle, the temple was greatly restored starting in the late 1800s. Now, this gives us a little bit of historical information. Even though it does have some details, it could be a summary statement. The beauty and sophistication of the temple's construction has amazed and confused people throughout history. Once again, now this one is not detailed. It seems like it could be a summary answer, but it might not really be important to the entire summary of the entire reading passage. The Khmer Rouge control of the Cambodian Civil War caused much damage to the temple. That's a little bit too detailed. So we can probably eliminate that one. We could probably eliminate A. We still have 4 left. Now, that's something which is probably going to happen with each of the reading passages, is that you'll have at least 2 answer choices that you could eliminate, that are almost obvious or very much are obvious that you could eliminate. And then you usually have 4 left that you have to scan for. That's basically the most common way that it's done. They give you 6 answer choices. 2 of them are obviously not going to be the correct one, or there will be a couple answer choices which are clearly summary statements, and then you just have probably 3 or 4 left that you can choose from. Let's take a look at the last one. Okay, so about Gustav Klimt. Gustav Klimt was a famous painter from Vienna who was very influential in the secession movement. Gustav Klimt liked to paint pictures of the female form. That's true, maybe a detail, but it's also important. Gustav Klimt worked in many different mediums, and one of his favorite subjects was the female form. Okay, now this one here mentions the female form, so it almost eliminates that one, because this gives a much better statement because it's talking about a little bit more. It would cover more of the actual reading passage than just that first statement, so we could probably eliminate the first one. Gustav Klimt is most famous for painting in gold. Well, that's true, and it's also a pretty big, important part of him as an artist. Gustav Klimt's most notable and successful periods is what is referred to as his golden phase. Now, this is another example where it's similar to here. Maybe this is a better summary statement than this one, but they're both important. Although he died with many paintings unfinished, he managed to achieve massive notoriety and success after death. This is a really good example of one which is obviously a summary statement. So then you can automatically choose that one. Gustav Klimt died a multimillionaire. Well, you could probably eliminate that one. I don't know exactly how much money he had, but it never said anything like that in the reading passage. Of course, you might have to scan to find that, but it's really not a summary statement. So we have a couple that we could eliminate right away, and then the other two, you just have to decide which of these sentences are better versions of the summary statement. So that's a really good example of the different types of answer choices and the different situations that you come across. Answers which might not even be true, answers which are very, very basic and definitely not summary statements, other statements where even if you didn't read the passage, just by the way that it's worded, it's obviously a summary statement. So basically you just eliminate the ones that are obviously wrong, you choose the ones that are obviously correct, and then you skim and scan for the ones that are left over. And that's pretty much it. So that is the summary organization task in the reading section of the TOEFL IBT. And we will see you in the next TOEFL Excellence lesson. Have an excellent day.